Hi, we're the Beavers.
I'm Robert.
I'm Pam, and we're going to speak with you for just a few minutes on Matthew 5:10 through 12. Blessed are the persecuted. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So persecution is defined as harassing or punishing in a manner designed to injure, grieve, or afflict, specifically causing one to suffer because of their beliefs. So verse 10 tells us, blessed are those who are persecuted, someone that's injured or afflicted or suffering because of their righteousness, their right standing, their belief in God. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So the reward is the kingdom of heaven. Verse 11.
Verse 11 says, Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. How are we blessed? Couple of the things that out of the scripture that I've learned that we can be blessed is one is it takes our eyes off of earthly rewards and puts them back on heaven. Another one, it strengthens our faith as we walk with God. Because when we're persecuted, when people are against us and talking about us, sometimes all we have is God to go to. So the third thing that I've learned is it serves as an example to others as they see us going through life. Sometimes when you're at work or at home and people see you having a bad day or a rough time or you're going through something, but you still are keeping moving, there are people that are going to see you wherever you're at. And they're going to come ask you, well, how are you able to do that? When that's a prime opportunity for you to say, I serve the Lord, and be able to open up and explain to them what you're going through.
So we're blessed. And verse 12 says, Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way, they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So we're in good company. If we're facing persecution, right? We're in good company.
Well, some of the persecuted prophets in the Old Testament, we have Jeremiah. Everybody knows Jeremiah. We all like Jeremiah 29. But we don't think about what happened in Jeremiah 20 when he was mocked and he was for his message and he was chased out of town. And another one was Elisha. Elisha in 1 Kings 19, he suffered depression and had to run from Jezebel for the simple fact because he was speaking out against the prophet of Baal, which they worshipped. A third one is one of the favorites is Daniel. Daniel in chapter 3, when he was a young man, he was demanded to worship the king as a god. And then later on in life, in chapter 6, he was demanded again not to worship the king, but to worship that he wasn't allowed to worship the God.
In the New Testament, the apostles, the disciples who went on to become the apostles, they were all persecuted. They all died as a result of their persecution, of their faith in Jesus. They died. All of them except John were murdered. Some of the ways that they were murdered:
hung upside down, decapitated, split in half, burned.
Right. So all of them. John was exiled to the island of Patmos. We know that he was exiled there. So he faced a different level of persecution, but persecution nonetheless. They were all afflicted and suffering because of their belief. But the reward was the kingdom of heaven, right? The reward is that it's okay that you're suffering, that you're blessed, right?
Yeah. Christians all over the world have been persecuted for their faith in Jesus. At the end of the day, God will reward the faithful by receiving them into heaven where no one will face persecution. And that's a glorious thing to know, that even though you're going through something down here, later on, you know, at the end of the day, God sees it, Jesus knows it, and when you stand before him, you won't be persecuted. He will say, well done, my good and faithful son. Sometimes it's the smallest thing. Could be that person you do not like. But if you pray for them and continue to work with them and be their friend, you would be surprised what would happen.
So final thoughts. Again, persecution is being punished in a manner that causes you to be injured or suffer. Persecution is not necessarily getting your feelings hurt. There's a lot of talk about Christians wanting to be persecuted. We run around and we're looking for persecution, but persecution is not getting your feelings hurt. Persecution is not somebody disagreeing with you necessarily. Persecution is heavy. It carries a heavy weight, and we're blessed when we're persecuted. Jesus tells us that. He says, "Blessed are the persecuted, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven."